Hello everybody, it's Foxy speaking, and welcome to another episode of Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats. And today I will be your host. And in this episode, it's not a Robert the Cat or the Learning Steam Railway History with Foxy. This is a story episode. And this story episode is going to be about a future fictional holiday. Being a holiday myself, David Scott, take to Scotland alongside one of our new friends who meets us in Scotland. Well, my new friend. David doesn't know of her as of yet, but he will know about her in due course. A new friend of mine. Oh my goodness, is she such a loving lady? Oh my goodness, do I love her? I mean, I like her very much. I wouldn't go as far as being greatly interesting of her, but I'm certainly greatly trusting of her, and she's my lovely, lovely new friend. My dear, lovely lady, Caroline Allen. Not Karen Allen, the actress. I'm not referring to that one. Not the very famous, prominent Karen Allen, the actress, but Caroline Allen. A loving, wonderful and loving new friend of mine who I'd befriended as a result of encountering Graham and Fiona Hesketh. Just to say, that's how I found out about Caroline Allen, just to let each and every one of you know. And David and myself, we were going to be meeting. Well, we met Caroline Allen at a Scotland airport, and then we go and check in a hotel in a nice Scotland locality and all the rest of it, and we explore certain sites of Scotland for our Scotland holiday. Just had to be careful of certain weather conditions and all that, because obviously David particularly does not like terribly rainy weather conditions, even though it's what happens all around the world, as truth has it, Oh yes. But in this episode, during our holiday, our future fictional holiday, being mine, David and Caroline's holiday in Scotland, we were to be visiting my friend Patricia Murphy for the very first time. Myself, David Scott and Caroline Allen were to first get a train to a location in Ayrshire, because Patricia's located in Ayrshire, but I'm not going to give away the very place of where she is located, because that would be a bit dangerous. And I think if her late husband, David Murphy, if he was still alive, he sadly died, unfortunately, and obviously that really, really hurt, and this affected Patricia a lot, so do be kind to Patricia if you ever see her within my content or Graham and Fiona's content. Do be especially kind to her, as I am greatly entrusting of her, and I do love her as if she's one of my closest friends I've known for a long time, even though I only just befriended her this year. I will always be greatly entrusting of her, and I will always love her, just to say, And that seriously affected Patricia greatly when her husband David sadly passed away, But if he was still alive, he would be disapprovingly angry with me if he watched something like this. He really would. No, because we were talking about certain personal stuff, myself and Patricia, and then Patricia said to me, David would be very, very disapproving of me if he saw me, if he did catch me discussing all this stuff with you, Foxy. I was like, oh no, what have I done? I was like, if he was still alive, he'd probably detest me for it. Oh dear. Oh no. Yeah, but moving on, let's get into the story now. Okay, let's get into the story. Myself, David Scott, and Caroline Allen had to catch a train. We were staying over in Edinburgh, in Scotland, but obviously we were just going to explore various different places up and down Scotland and all that. and even certain Scottish transport museums, or certain Scottish places where they could have classic cars and all that. Whether that be a car museum or transport museum with classic cars or vintage buses, that sort of thing, you know. And all the rest of it. And so on the Strathspey Railway and those sort of places, really. And so, but in this case, on this very day, we were to be getting the train to Ayrshire, a location in Ayrshire, and then we'd have to get out at Ayrshire and then get the bus to Patricia's home residency. Though I was really excited about meeting Patricia for the first time, and that I was able to introduce her to both David Scott and Caroline Allen, as she was going to meet both of them in person for the very first time. And I knew Patricia would be greatly excited about it. Though I was greatly excited and bursting with enthusiasm, but I had a terrible hangover at the same time, but still very excited about the day, you know. So, "Oh, David, please do cheer up, David," I said. "We're going to meet Patricia Murphy for the very first time. I was telling you a lot about her. And I know you're, and I'm excited, Foxy," Caroline said. "I cannot wait to meet Patricia Murphy." So, "Foxy, mate, I am looking forward to meeting Patricia Murphy herself, but I'm still very annoyed with you for last night." I was like, "Oh, come on, David. David, I said I was sorry." I said, No, I know you said you were sorry, mate, but you were unacceptably drunk last night. No, really, Foxy, mate, really, you were too unacceptably drunk last night. And if you got drunk to the point where you were vomiting that much in the toilet and all over the bathroom sink, that sort of thing, you know, and all over the floor in the bathroom, for drinking too much gin and beer mixed together, that really is very stupid. You could have ended up in hospital getting your stomach pumped or being treated for severe alcohol poisoning. No, I mean, really, you were just, it was not funny seeing you this drunk. It really wasn't. I knew what I did was wrong that night, and I could see why David was still very annoyed with me, and that it was going to take time for him to no longer be annoyed with me from that very crazy night myself, David Scott and Caroline Allen had had. Before long, we got off at the bus stop where we needed to get off at. And so we got off the bus, and I got my camera out and shot some videography footage of the bus leaving the bus stop. And from the bus stop, we took our walk. Myself, David Scott and Caroline Allen took our walk to get to Patricia's home residency. It was to be about a roughly 10-15 minute walk to get to her home. And then before long we found her house, and then I rang her doorbell. Myself, David Scott and Caroline Allen stood outside the door, patiently waiting. And then before long, the door opened, and there was Patricia Murphy. "Hello! Oh, hi, Foxy, my wee man." And Patricia said, "Oh, hello, Patricia," I said, and then I walked up to her and she gave me a great big hug. "Oh, it's so nice to see you in person finally." And then she gave me a kiss on the cheek. "Oh, it's lovely to see you, Patricia," I said, as we were embracing kindly together whilst greeting one another. "Oh, and Patricia, just to say, this is my best friend, David Scott, and this is also our friend Caroline Allen, who we've befriended from Graham and Fiona Hesketh, just to say." I said, "Oh, David, I've heard about you so much," Patricia said, and she just walked right over to David and quickly embraced him before David could say anything or give her his greeting to her. Oh, embracing David tightly. She was like, "Oh, I've heard so much about you. Foxy says you're his best friend who means so much to him. Oh, I had so much about you. David was beginning to feel a little bit uncomfortable with Patricia Murphy embracing her 5'7" frame too tightly towards his 5'4.5" frame. And before long, but after a few moments, Patricia became more gentle and let David go. He's like, nice to see you, Patricia. And then David gave her a kind kiss on the cheek. Yeah, no, I have heard about you, and yeah, you're one of Foxy's most greatly entrusting friends. He's befriended as a result of Graham and Fiona, and he's like, yeah, no, I have watched Graham and Fiona's content before, yeah, and they are quite interesting, you know. But but they do talk about things that, maybe I couldn't listen to all the time. But it is interesting. It is quite interesting, as David said. Oh, and Caroline, I've seen you on Graham and Fiona's live stream too. Hello, she said, and she said to Caroline as Caroline walked over to Patricia and herself, and Patricia gave her a nice big hug. And even Caroline began embracing too. Oh, it's so nice to see you, Patricia, Caroline said as they were both embracing in a nice hug. And then they let each other go, and most in a warm and welcoming way, Patricia said, "Come on in, you three, come on in. I wouldn't want you standing around in the cold. Come on in. I'm just making some lunch for you all." And there we walked in. Both myself, David Scott, and Caroline Allen walked into Patricia's house. It was a nice little place. And certainly did we all very much like it, very much. Well, it's a very nice place, I thought. Yes, it's certainly nice to see you for the first time in person, Patricia. And I said, "Oh, Foxy, it's wonderful to see you too," Patricia said lovingly. I would assume your feline companions are missing you whilst you're on holiday." I said, "Oh yes, but don't worry, Patricia. Rest assured they're being well looked after." "Oh good, that's good to hear," Patricia said. "Yeah," he said, "don't worry about him. Foxy and his family know what they're generally doing," David said. "And I think Foxy's got some wonderful feline companions," Caroline said. "Oh, his Daphne is so cute. And Foxy's always so kind and so wonderful. Although we had a crazy night last night. Foxy got very drunk. But, I'm all right. I was a little bit cross. I was cross with him at the time, but, I forgive him," Caroline said. "Well, thank you, Caroline. I mean, David, he was like, yeah, Foxy," David said, "I thought we were not going to talk about how I'm feeling about you. You know I'm annoyed with you still. And, but please be good. Be a good boy," David said to me. "Oh, sorry, David. Yes. Oh. Why, yeah. Well, I would recommend you don't go out drinking tonight," Patricia said to me. "If you got that drunk last night, Foxy, I can see why your wee best friend David Scott is still very annoyed with you, or a wee tinsy bit annoyed with you still." I can certainly see that very much, Patricia," I said. "And I am very sorry." "Oh, I know you wouldn't mean anything bad, Foxy, and you're always very good to me and to Graham and Fiona," she said, "But David will forgive you, but I think seeing that you were so drunk last night, I think it's going to take him time to forgive you for the naughty, crazy night." "I think you're very right, Patricia, yes. Come on now. Why don't we have a wee bit of lunch? I've made some vegetable soup for you all, and also given some bread to go with it. And if you're still hungry, there's always a little bit more you three can have, and I'll be having some too." And so we got ready around the dinner table to have some lunch with Patricia. Both myself, David Scott and Caroline Allen had some medium-sized bowls to have our soup. a nice tasty vegetable soup in. But Patricia, on the other hand, had a large bowl of vegetable soup given her big voracious appetite, and about 4 slices of bread, whereas myself, David Scott and Caroline Allen had about 2 slices of bread. We ate our soup steadily. The soup was tasty, and I was very impressed with how Patricia had cooked it up, as was David and Caroline Allen too. We finished up our soup and our bread, but myself, David Scott, and Caroline Allen, we were full, but Patricia was like, oh, I think I'm going to have a little bit more. Since Foxy knows I have a voracious appetite, Patricia said, and so she got up from the table and steadily walked over to the saucepan to serve herself some more vegetable soup. And so, but we decided not to get up from the table until Patricia had finished up her soup. Oh, please may we get down now that you've finished your vegetable soup? I kindly asked Patricia. Of course you can get down, Foxy. You, your wee best friend David, and your wee good friend Caroline Allen, well, my wee good friend as well, since we know each other from Graham and Fiona, of course you can get down. And it's time to wash up. And knowing that it was time to wash up, I took mine, David and Caroline's bowls and bread plates. Patricia took her own bread plate and bowl. And I walked immediately over to the sink, and before I could do anything, Patricia said, oh, it's okay, Foxy, I'll do the washing up. You don't have to do anything, but it's very kind of you. I do wish I could help you, Patricia, but I do still feel very guilty from that crazy night last night, and I really did seriously annoy David. I just thought helping you out would probably make David feel happier with me and probably forgive me for it. Oh, honey. Oh, my wee honey boy, Foxy. Hey, I don't think you need to do that just to please your best friend, Patricia said. I know, Patricia, but I do wish there was something he will forgive you eventually. I do hope so, Patricia, I said, but I still feel rather guilty. And then I pulled a fairly visible frown on my face. Patricia, looking at my frown, I said, oh, dinner fast yourself, Foxy. Oh, my wee honey, she said as she put her 5'7" frame, wrapping her arm around my 5'8" frame and 11-stone figure, wrapping her arm around the right-hand side of my arm, giving a little gentle hug, said, oh, dinner fast yourself, Foxy, my wee honey, said, and gave my little arm a rub and a little side hug. And then she stood back a little and said, oh, look, it's so kind of you that you want to help me out, although it is my house, you know, but I'm always, but you know, I would always forgive you no matter what you do that's naughty, or if we're talking a lot of personal stuff, or if you're telling personal stuff about each other, you know, she said. And then she put her forehead close to my forehead and said, you know, you've said a lot of very nice things about me, and you know, and you're always going to be my close friend. We stood silently together with both our foreheads touching our foreheads, and then Patricia gave me a kiss on my forehead. Go on, she said, tapping my shoulder. Have a wee little rest on the sofa. Okay, Patricia, I will do that. And then David decided to walk over, and as Patricia was doing the dishes, washing stuff up in the sink, David walked over to her and said, oh, I'll help you with that, Patricia. I said, oh, "Oh, my wee David," she said, tapping his shoulder. "That's very kind of you, but I'll handle the dishes. Foxy tried to help too, but I said he didn't have to, and that I'm going to do it myself, and I said that he should have a rest and let his food go down." "Well," he said, "no, that's all right, Patricia, but I think it's best if I do help you, you know. You're our good friend, and Foxy means a lot to you. And you mean a lot to Foxy, Patricia," David said, and I think it's good I help you. "Well, just because I mean a lot to Foxy, it doesn't mean that you, being his wee best friend, should insist on doing the dishes too. It's very kind of you, but I think I can handle washing up the dishes myself." "Thank you, David," she said politely. "I'm sorry, Patricia, I only meant to help. I mean, Foxy, he's always a very good friend, and all he wanted to do was to be a good friend." "Oh, honey. Oh, my wee honey pie, David," Patricia said. "I know Foxy, he would never mean to upset me. He's a very good friend. He would never mean to upset anyone with malice intent." "I know, no, I know I'm very annoyed with him for getting very, very, very unacceptably drunk last night, but he is my best friend, and we do very much like each other, and I was the one who got him into classic cars and vintage rallies, and he was the one that got me into content creation," David said. "And I think maybe I was overreacting a little bit, but but obviously you'd think, and you would see why I'm rightly annoyed with him, "Oh, honey pie, David, my wee man," Patricia said as she wrapped her arm around David's right shoulder alongside his 5'4.5" frame and her 5'7" frame, giving him a little side hug. "Oh, my wee man, David. I know you're rightly annoyed with Foxy, but it's okay." She let out a sigh and a deep breath, and Patricia said, "Look, I really do appreciate you and Foxy trying to help, but we all get annoyed, David, but you shouldn't hold too much of a grudge against him because he only meant to have some fun getting drunk." And then putting her 5'7" frame with her forehead against David's forehead on his 5'4.5" frame, up saying, Foxy talks so highly of you from time to time, and he tells me just how much you mean to him. In a way you remind him of his late grandfather Edmund. He did tell me all about this," she said, standing fairly still together with Patricia's forehead against David's forehead, and her giving David a little side hug at the same time. They stood for about 15 seconds like this, and then Patricia gave David a kiss on a gentle kiss on the forehead, and said, "Go on, David," she said, tapping his shoulder. "Have a wee little rest on the sofa." "Okay, Patricia," David said respectfully, and then walked over to the sofa where myself and Caroline Allen were sitting. I was showing Caroline Allen one of my railway books which I'd taken with me, and we were looking at it together. And then David joined in with us and looked at our railway book together too. Now there's some very interesting, looking railways in there. Yeah, no, The Railway Age, the book you've got. No, it's a very interesting book. Who got you this book, Foxy? David asked me. "Oh yes, Foxy, I was meaning to ask you too," Caroline said. "Who got you the Railway Age book?" "Oh, that, Caroline and David, my late grandfather, my grandparents got me this book, being my grandmother Anne and my late grandfather Edmund. They both got me this enchanting book, The Railway Age." And I'm extremely pleased with it, and in a way it's one of my most treasured railway books, just to let the two of you know, I said in response to Caroline and David. It's a wonderful book. And your grandparent, it was so nice of your grandparents to have got you this book when you were a little boy, Caroline said, and I can see why your late grandfather Edmund meant so much to you. I said, oh, he meant the world to me, Caroline, I said. And then I explained to Caroline about what it was like, the whole thing about the loss of my late grandfather Edmund. Caroline was moved, and she could really see what I meant and how the loss had affected me at the time. Though by that point, and certainly now, as of now, and certainly into the future, I'll be able to talk about it and open up about it far more openly compared to before, when it first happened, or even 1 or 2 years after it happened, and all that, you know. Yes, he said. Just to say, Foxy, Caroline said, think of your grandfather Edmund as him looking down on you and thinking just how happy and proud he would be of you for all the wonderful things you've done and all the wonderful new friends you've made, especially since as we'd met via Graham and Fiona, Caroline said. I agree with Caroline, Foxy. Just think of how proud your grandfather Edmund would be with you right now, given your classic car enthusiasm and vintage rally enthusiasm you've possessed because of encountering me. I knew that Caroline and David were making some very good, thorough points, and I couldn't help but agree with them both. Then before long, Patricia had washed up the dishes and then sat down on the sofa, and we had some conversations together, talking about her dearly loved late husband and David, and also talking about other wonderful things and other interesting sort of things and all that. And we were even talking classic cars and vintage rallies with her and all that. And we were even talking about just how wonderful Graham and Fiona are as friends. Before long, our visit was over and it was time to head back to the hotel in Edinburgh. It was so nice to see you, Patricia, I said to Patricia. No, it was really good to see you, Patricia, David said. And it was wonderful seeing you, Patricia, Caroline said. And thank you for having us. Myself, David Scott and Caroline Allen all said together in unison towards Patricia. Oh, you're very welcome, my good 3 wee friends, Patricia said kindly. You know, you 3 are always welcome to come over here again any time. Thank you, Patricia, I said. We will certainly be bearing this in mind, and for whenever the next time we're over in Scotland, whether that be just myself, or myself and David, or myself, David and Caroline, or just myself and Caroline, or just us 3 singularly individually, we would certainly be far more than happy to head over to your place again in the future, I said. So, of course, Foxy, Patricia said, you 3, and especially you, are always more than welcome to come over again any time, Patricia said. We said our goodbye, we all gave each other a nice hug and exchanged our goodbyes, and then myself, David Scott, and Caroline Allen walked over to the bus stop. I checked the timetable on the bus, and fortunately we were luckily not too late for the bus, as we had about 5 or 10 minutes before the bus arrived. And whilst we were waiting for the bus, David slowly walked over to me and said, Foxy, I forgive you for last night after you got unacceptably drunk, David said. I was very happy. Thank you, David, I said politely to David. But I am still extremely sorry I got unacceptably drunk last night. But, and you had every right to be annoyed with me. I said, I know, Foxy, David said, but I think I was a little too annoyed, and I think I overacted a little bit after having a nice little talk with Patricia, but I forgive you all the same. And I was thankful to David, and I issued out my utmost thanking gratitude to David. And I forgive you too, Foxy, Caroline Ellen said to me. Before long, our bus arrived. We boarded the bus, and we sat down, and whilst we were sitting on the bus, both myself, David, and Caroline sat peacefully on the bus, both reflecting on what a wonderful day we'd had visiting our friend Patricia Murphy over in Ayrshire in Scotland. The end. Thanks everybody indeed for watching. The continuation of the story will eventually continue of being mine, David and Caroline's adventure in Scotland. This is a little prequel episode, just to say, but the full adventure episodes for the future Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats episodes will eventually come, just to say. But that will be once I've finished my learning steam railway history with Foxy, just to say. And Caroline Allen, by the way, is a new friend of mine who I've befriended from Graham and Fiona's content, just to say, as we'd encountered each other on a live stream session, and oh my goodness, is she always so lovely to me whenever I encounter her, and we always have some conversant talking conversations together and all that, and I love it, you know. She's always so loving and so friendly to me, she really is, you know. Yes, oh yes. Just to say to each and every one of you, thanks all for watching, and I'll certainly see you in the very next video. Ta-ta, another time. From Foxy.